From one exchange to the other, we also caught up with NSE's MD and CEO, Mr. Ashish Chauhan, on his expectations from markets this Samwat. Listening to what he expected in terms of the timeline with regard to their listing plans as well.
First of all, happy Diwali and prosperous New Year to all your viewers. In some ways, all the new investors have to be careful. They have to do things within their means, never borrow to invest, never speculate beyond a point. And of course, if you are not an expert, don't trade in derivatives.
One question now which everybody has, the kind of enthusiasm which has been in market, especially in last 1 month, how soon we are scaling new highs, how soon we are passing the September 2024 highs?
No, I think broadly we are there. We have in a way given returns of almost 6.4% compared to previous Diwali. And so in some ways, of course, from September to October, the markets had fallen because of a variety of the global factors, and also that Indian markets had run ahead of themselves in terms of the price earnings and other things. But I think now when the rest of the world has given much better returns than ours, we are at 6.4%. Nasdaq is probably 25, Dow Jones is probably 16-17%. The rest of the world has given better returns last somewhat compared to Indian markets, but that is a rare phenomenon. I think we are now catching up, and so next year should be, next Samwat should be better.
So Samwat 2082 can be India's year?
I mean, absolutely, and you have seen in last 5 years, at least 3 years we were beating the world, right? So India is in a way on a run, and there will be some pluses, some minuses. Sometimes we run ahead of the realities, but broadly speaking, next 25, 30, 50 years, we would be performing better than the rest of the world.
You mentioned about rest of the world, and many of the economies are actually struggling at a time when India is growing at a pace of 7.8%. If you talk about the rating agencies, they have upgraded our economy even before the announcements which were made by the government. You talk about GST, the earnings is capturing the same, although the real data will come in January. So how you are assessing the green shoots which are there in the economy currently?
Broadly, there are local factors, there are environmental factors, and then there are global factors. So if you look at the local factors, broadly speaking, last 1 year has, in a way, last one Samwat, we have not done so well. So effectively, your earnings have now become reasonable compared to the prices of the stock. So now, broadly, you are comparable to the world, slightly higher, but naturally, if you're going to grow faster, world gives you better price earnings. The second part is the monsoon, that this year monsoon has been phenomenal across the country, and so India is still dependent on monsoon quite a lot. So in some ways, whatever you have seen, 1 lakh cars or 1,20,000 cars getting delivered yesterday are basically the what you call green shoots or examples of how India is progressing. Of course, all of us will face more traffic jam, but I think that is a good thing to do. And then, of course, the newer chips are being manufactured. Next year, you will see many more sort of things which were the seeds were sown 2, 3, 5 years back, where all those results are going to come. Internationally, we are doing very well on exports because of the iPhone and high-tech manufacturing.
One thing which stood out, especially in this Samwat, has been IPOs, and lately in the last quarter itself, there has been so many listings. The new age companies are coming to the block, and more than that, even the older companies like Tata Capital, and I can name many with the companies which have been listed now. So do you think that this IPO momentum will continue in the next year as well?
Absolutely. See, India is 17% of world population. So it should have 15-20% of world's listed companies. We are not even in that 2-3% range, right? So we have a long way to go, and a growing economy will require many more companies to come to the markets. We have seen companies just manufacturing one single product called Mangalsutra and gaining huge grounds. Or we have LG, which gave a great returns. Of course, NSDL that came out of NSE fold also gave great returns. But I mean, you can count now many companies that have come with great IPOs over last 1 year.
So there are more to come. But more importantly, how NSE is preparing for the next Samwat, because with more companies, with more investors, of course, the responsibility of NSE increases.
It does. In fact, if you see the last Samwat at this time, India had probably 10.5 crore unique investors. Today we have 12 crore unique investors with 23.5 crore accounts. So literally every investor is having 2 accounts, like every phone user is having 2 SIM cards.
One last question before I let you go is the hope of NSE being listed by many of the investors and stakeholders. We have discussed this many times, but 2082, is it going to be a reality?
No, we have great hopes that in the new Samwat we should be able to list. We are still awaiting the NOC from SEBI. After that, once SEBI gives NOC, probably 8-9 months is what we have planned for. So effectively, if the NOC comes soon, we should be able to list in the next Samwat.